The great space station called Harmony's End floated in the darkness between stars. It was bigger than most moons, built from white metal that gleamed like pearls in the light of distant suns. Inside its vast halls, beings from 47 different worlds had come together for an emergency meeting. This had not happened in 300 years. Speaker Vexithara stood at the center of the council chamber. Her tall, thin body was made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through her skin in slow waves of blue and green. She was from the Altarian Empire, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. Her voice rang out clear and cold across the huge room. "We are here because of the humans," she said. "For 3 months, they have been silent. No messages. No trade signals. No calls for help, nothing." The chamber erupted in noise. 47 different types of beings all started talking at once. Some had fur, some had scales. Some were made of gas held together by force fields. They spoke in languages that sounded like music, like grinding metal, like the wind through caves. The translation machines worked hard to turn it all into words everyone could understand. Admiral Thakmor of the Corvin hierarchy slammed his armored fist on his speaking platform. He was 8 feet tall and looked like a walking tank covered in black metal. His red eyes glowed as he spoke. "This is what we expected," he growled. "The humans have always been rebels. They refuse to follow our rules. They expand too fast. They trade with whoever they want. Now they hide from us like children." From across the chamber, a voice like singing crystals answered him. It came from Zephylos of the Ethereal Collective. The Ethereals were ancient beings made of pure energy. They had been watching the galaxy for millions of years. "You are wrong, Thakmor," Zephylos said. "This is not hiding. This is something else. Something we do not understand." The arguing grew louder. Some council members agreed with Thakmor. The humans had always been trouble. They asked too many questions. They wanted to do things their own way. They had ignored council warnings about expanding too fast into new star systems. Others sided with Zephylos. The humans were strange, yes, but they were not cowards. In the past, when the council had demanded answers, the humans had always answered. They might argue back, but they never ran away. Councillor Mershan from the Peaceful Traders Union waved her 6 arms for attention. She looked like a giant octopus wearing robes made of starlight. "Let us remember the facts," she said in her bubbling voice. 3 months ago, human ships began leaving their outer colonies. We thought they were moving people to safer worlds. We thought it was smart planning. But they kept leaving, added Senator Voltar from the Democratic Systems Alliance. He was a floating brain in a glass tank filled with glowing liquid. First the outer worlds, then the middle colonies, then worlds closer to their home system. Speaker Vexthara raised one crystal hand for silence. The chamber slowly grew quiet. "Show them the data," she commanded. The air above the center of the chamber filled with stars. It was a map of human space showing all their colonies and trade routes. Green dots marked human worlds. Red lines showed their shipping lanes. Yellow symbols showed their military bases. But something was wrong with the map. Many of the green dots were dim or dark. The red lines had gaps in them. Yellow symbols were fading one by one. "This was human space 3 months ago," Vexithera explained. 147 worlds. 53 major trade routes. 28 military stations. The map changed. Now most of the green dots were black. The red lines were broken. Only a few yellow symbols remained bright. "This is human space today," she continued. 17 worlds still active. 3 trade routes still working. 5 military stations still responding to signals. The chamber was silent now. Even the most warlike council members stared at the map in shock. "Where did they go?" whispered someone from the back of the chamber. "That is what we must find out," Vexthera said. "But first let us hear from those who have tried to contact them." Trade Minister Quindal from the Commerce Guild floated forward. He was made of metal and circuits, more machine than living being. "We have sent messages to their trade centers," he reported. "The automatic systems respond. They say message received, but no human ever answers back. The factories still work. The shipping computers still function. But no people." General Hexara from the Military Coordination Council stepped forward next. She was covered in armor that looked like dragon scales. "We sent ships to check on their military bases," she said. "The defense systems are still active. Our ships were scanned and identified correctly. But when we asked to speak to human commanders, the computer said, 'Command staff unavailable.' Every single base gave the same answer. Ambassador Felmoth from the Diplomatic Corps moved to speak. He was tall and thin with skin like tree bark. "We tried to contact their government on Earth," he said sadly. "The communication networks work perfectly. But when we ask to speak to human leaders, we get recorded messages saying they are in transition. The same message every time." The mystery grew deeper with each report. The humans had not been destroyed. Their technology still worked. Their automated systems still followed orders. But the humans themselves seemed to have vanished. "Perhaps they are sick," suggested Dr. Yelona from the Medical Research Collective. "A plague could have killed them all." "No," said Zephylos firmly. "Sick people do not organize evacuations. They do not shut down colonies in perfect order. They do not leave their machines running so neatly." "Then they are planning something," Admiral Thakmore declared. "This is a trick. They want us to worry. They want us to send ships to investigate. Then they will attack." "Attack with what?" asked Merchan. "Their fleets are gone too. Our long-range sensors show empty space where their battleships used to patrol." Speaker Vexithara watched the arguments continue. She had lived for 800 years. She had seen wars that destroyed star systems. She had watched species rise and fall, but she had never seen anything like this. The humans had been part of the galactic community for only 300 years. They were young and often difficult. They asked uncomfortable questions about old laws. They wanted to change things that had worked for thousands of years, but they had never been mysterious. Now they had become the greatest mystery the galaxy had ever faced. "We will send an investigation team," she finally announced. "Admiral Thakmore will lead the military aspects. Navigator Zephylos will handle scientific analysis. They will go to human space and learn the truth." "And if the humans attack our investigation team?" Thakmore asked. "Then we will know they are still alive," Vexthera replied, "and we will deal with them accordingly." But deep in her crystal heart she feared that the truth would be far stranger than a simple attack. The humans had always been unpredictable. Now they had become invisible. The council session ended with more questions than answers. As the representatives returned to their ships, they all wondered the same thing. What had happened to humanity? In the depths of space, their question echoed unanswered among the silent stars. The investigation ship cut through space like a silver arrow. It was called the Truth Seeker, and it carried the strangest crew ever assembled. Admiral Thakmore stood on the bridge in his black armor, watching the stars through the main view screen. Beside him floated Navigator Zephylos, her energy form glowing softly blue. They had been traveling for 2 weeks toward human space. The crew was nervous. Everyone had heard stories about humans, but nobody knew what to expect from empty human worlds. "First target coming up," announced the ship's pilot, a four-armed being from the Navigation Guild. Kepler 442b, the humans called it New Sol. Thakmore studied the information on his screen. New Sol was supposed to be home to 12 million humans. It was their biggest farming world, growing food for dozens of other colonies. If humans were still anywhere, they would be here. "Take us into orbit," he ordered. The Truth Seeker dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a blue and green planet. It looked beautiful and peaceful. White clouds swirled over brown continents and silver oceans. Everything seemed normal. "Scanning the planet," reported Science Officer Veltar. She was from a race that looked like walking flowers. "I detect massive agricultural operations. Automated farming systems are active across 6 continents. Crops are growing perfectly, but what?" Thakmore demanded. "No life signs. No human life signs anywhere on the planet." Zephylos drifted closer to the scanner display. Her energy form pulsed with concern. "That cannot be correct," she said. "Scan again." Veltar checked her instruments twice. "The scans are accurate. I detect the heat signatures of farming machines. I see power generation from their cities, but no humans. Not even one." The Admiral clenched his armored fists. "Take us down to the main city." The Truth Seeker descended through the atmosphere toward New Sol's capital. As they flew lower, they could see vast fields of grain and vegetables stretching to the horizon. Automated harvesters moved through the crops like giant insects. Everything was working perfectly. The city appeared ahead of them. It was beautiful, with tall towers that spiraled up toward the sky like silver flowers. Gardens and parks filled the spaces between buildings. Vehicles moved along the streets, but they were all automated cargo transports. "Landing in the city center," the pilot announced. They landed in a wide plaza surrounded by the tallest buildings. The investigation team put on their environmental suits and stepped outside. The air was clean and fresh. Birds sang in the trees, but there were no humans anywhere. Admiral Thakmore led the team into the nearest building. It was some kind of administrative center, with offices and meeting rooms. Computer screens showed data about crop production and weather patterns. Everything was running smoothly. "Look at this," called Dr. Nixara, the team's archaeologist. She was studying a large display screen in what looked like a control room. The farming schedules are still being followed. The computers are planting crops, harvesting them, and processing the food. But where is the food going? Science Officer Veltar checked the shipping records. According to these files, all food production is being stored in automated warehouses. Nothing has been shipped off-world for 3 months. They explored deeper into the city. They found homes with furniture still in place. They found schools with lessons still programmed into the teaching computers. They found hospitals with medical equipment ready to treat patients who never came, but they found no people. In the governor's mansion at the center of the city, Zephalis made the first important discovery. She found a message beacon sitting on the governor's desk. It was a small device that glowed softly when they approached. "It is programmed to activate when non-humans enter the room," she observed. Admiral Thakmore pressed the activation button. A hologram appeared above the device. It showed a middle-aged human man with kind eyes and graying hair. He wore the simple uniform of a colonial administrator. "I am Director Kim Hyun of the New Seoul Colonial Administration," the hologram said. "If you are watching this message, then you are probably wondering where we have gone." The investigation team gathered around the hologram, listening carefully. "To whoever finds this, please understand, we are not hiding from you. We are not running away in fear. We are not angry at the galactic community. We are simply moving beyond your reach." Kim Hyun paused as if choosing his words carefully. "For 300 years, humanity has tried to find its place in galactic civilization. We have followed your rules. We have accepted your limitations on our expansion. We have tried to be good galactic citizens, but we have learned something important. We do not belong in your galaxy." The hologram gestured toward the window, where the empty city stretched out below. "We have found somewhere we do belong, somewhere we can grow and build and dream without constantly asking permission, somewhere we can be ourselves." Admiral Thakmore growled in frustration. Where did they go?" As if answering his question, Kim Hyun continued speaking. "We know you will ask where we have gone. We cannot tell you. Not because we want to keep secrets, but because you would not understand the answer. Your science is not ready for the truth. Perhaps someday it will be." The message was almost over. "We leave our worlds in good condition. The farms will keep growing food if you need it. The cities are clean and ready for new inhabitants. Consider them our gift to the galaxy. Thank you for teaching us that sometimes the greatest journey is the one you take alone." The hologram faded away. The investigation team stood in silence for a long moment. Then Admiral Thakmore smashed his fist down on the governor's desk. "Impossible," he roared. 12 million people do not just disappear. Where are the ships? Where are the signs of evacuation?" But Zephalis was studying something else. She had found the building's security recordings and was reviewing the last days before the humans left. "Look at this," she said, projecting the recordings for everyone to see. The security cameras showed the final week of human occupation. People moved through the city normally for several days. Then on the last day they began gathering in the main plaza with small bags and personal belongings. "See how calm they are," Zephalis observed. "No panic. No rushing. They are leaving by choice." The recordings showed humans saying goodbye to their city. Some touched the walls of buildings they had built. Others stood quietly looking at gardens they had planted. Children played games while their parents packed. Then, at exactly noon, something strange happened. The air in the plaza began to shimmer like heat waves. A circular area about 50 meters wide started to glow with soft light. "What is that?" whispered Dr. Nixara. They watched as the humans walked calmly into the glowing circle. As each person stepped inside, they vanished. Not like a teleporter beam, not like a ship taking off. They simply stopped being there. Within an hour, all 12 million humans had walked through the glowing portal and disappeared. Then the light faded, and the plaza was empty. "Replay that section," Admiral Thakmore demanded. They watched the scene 3 more times. Each time it was the same. Humans walking into light and disappearing. No ships, No technology they could recognize, just light and vanishing people. We need to check other human worlds, Zephyla said quietly. I suspect we will find the same thing. They spent the next week visiting 17 human colonies. Each world told the same story. Empty cities in perfect condition, message beacons left by human administrators, security recordings showing people walking into circles of light and vanishing. Each message beacon contained a similar farewell from local human leaders. Director Park Jiho from the mining world of Kepler 186f, Governor Lee Mina from the research station on Proxima Centauri, B Administrator Nam Taik from the trading hub at Wolf 359. All the messages said the same basic thing. Humanity was leaving by choice. They were going somewhere the galactic community could not follow. They were not angry or afraid. They were simply moving on. But one message was different. On the industrial world of Kepler 452b, the final message came from Chief Engineer Yoon So-hee. She added something the others had not mentioned. To our friends in the galactic community, her hologram said, please do not try to follow us. The path we have taken is not meant for your species. You have your own destiny among the stars, you know. We have found ours beyond them. She paused, looking directly at the camera. We have learned things that changed everything for us. We discovered that the universe is much bigger than any of us imagined. There are places where different rules apply. Places where beings like us can build the kind of civilization we have always dreamed of. If you truly want to understand, she concluded, send your investigation team to Earth. Some of our people remained behind to answer your questions. But remember, no matter what they tell you, we will not be coming back. Admiral Thakmor stood on the bridge of the Truth Seeker as they prepared to leave human space. 17 worlds explored, 17 empty colonies discovered, 17 farewell messages received. Set course for Earth, he ordered. But in his heart he feared that Earth would hold the greatest mystery of all. If humans had developed technology that let them disappear from existence itself, what else might they be capable of? The Truth Seeker turned toward humanity's home system, carrying questions that might be too dangerous to answer. Earth hung before them like a blue jewel against the black of space. Admiral Thakmor stared at it through the main view screen of the Truth Seeker, trying to understand what he was seeing. The planet looked perfect. Too perfect. Scanning now, reported Science Officer Veltar. Her flower-like head swayed as she studied her instruments. This is impossible. The readings make no sense. Explain, Navigator Zephylos demanded, her energy form glowing brighter with curiosity. The planet shows signs of human habitation, but the population is much smaller than expected. I detect only about 3 million humans on the entire world. But Admiral, look at these environmental readings. She projected the data for everyone to see. The numbers made Thakmor's armored hands clench into fists. The oceans are cleaner than they have been in centuries, Veltar continued. The forests are growing back where cities used to be. The air pollution levels are almost zero. It is as if someone took Earth and made it perfect again. Dr. Nixara, the team's archaeologist, studied the surface scans. I see evidence of massive cities being carefully dismantled. Not destroyed, dismantled. The materials were recycled. The land was restored to its natural state. Take us down, Thakmor ordered. I want to see this for myself. The Truth Seeker descended toward Earth's surface. They aimed for what their records said should be the location of New Geneva, humanity's seat of government. But as they approached, they saw something unexpected. Where the great city should have been, there was a large complex of low buildings surrounded by gardens and forests. It looked more like a university campus than a government center. A few humans could be seen walking on pathways between the buildings. They landed in a designated area near the main building. A group of humans was waiting for them. They were not armed. They were not wearing military uniforms. They looked like ordinary people dressed in simple clothes. A middle-aged man with graying hair stepped forward as the investigation team left their ship. He was tall and calm, with the bearing of someone used to leadership. Welcome to Earth, he said in perfect galactic standard language. I am Premier Park Jiho. We have been expecting you. Admiral Thakmor looked around suspiciously. Everything was too peaceful, too normal. Where were the defenses? Where were the crowds of humans? Where was the great civilization that had once spanned dozens of star systems? Where is everyone? He demanded. Premier Park smiled sadly. They have gone ahead to prepare our new home. A few of us stayed behind to answer your questions and to care for Earth until she is ready for whatever comes next. A woman stepped out from behind Park. She was younger, with the look of a scientist or engineer. She wore a simple white coat over practical clothes. "I am Dr. Lee Mina," she said, chief scientist of the Guardian Project. "Perhaps you would like to see what we have accomplished here?" They walked through the complex and the aliens saw wonders they had not expected. The buildings were made of materials that seemed to grow rather than being constructed. Gardens bloomed with plants from dozens of worlds, all living together in perfect harmony. The technology was subtle but obviously advanced. "You have done all this in 3 months?" asked Zephylos. Dr. Lee shook her head. "We have been planning this for 30 years. The final evacuation took only 3 months, but the preparation took much longer." She led them to an observation deck that looked out over what had once been the European continent. Instead of cities and factories, they saw vast forests broken by small communities and research stations. "We learned something important about Earth during our 300 years in space," Dr. Lee explained. "We learned that she is beautiful when she is allowed to be herself. So we gave her back her forests and her clean air and her clear water." Admiral Thakmore was growing impatient. "Enough of this! Tell us where your people went. Our sensors detected no ships leaving Earth. How did billions of humans disappear without a trace?" Premier Park and Dr. Lee exchanged a look. Then Park nodded to someone else in their group. A younger man stepped forward. He had the bearing of a soldier, but he wore no uniform and carried no weapons. "I am Commander Nam Taik," he said, "former head of Earth Defense Command. Perhaps it would be easier to show you than to tell you." He led them into the main building and down a series of corridors. The walls were covered with displays showing Earth's restoration progress. Forests growing where cities had been, oceans teeming with life again, deserts blooming into grasslands. They entered a large chamber at the heart of the building. In the center of the room stood something that made all the aliens step back in shock. It was a ring of metal and crystal about 10 meters wide, standing upright like a doorway. But instead of opening onto the next room, the space inside the ring showed something impossible. They could see stars, but they were the wrong stars. The constellations were different. The colors were strange. "This is a dimensional gateway," Dr. Lee said quietly. "It opens not to another place in our universe, but to another universe entirely. A place where the laws of physics are slightly different. A place where life can grow in ways that are impossible here." Zephylos drifted closer to the gateway, her energy form pulsing with excitement and fear. "Such technology should be impossible," she whispered. "We ethereals have existed for millions of years, and we have never seen anything like this." "That is because you were not looking in the right direction," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see an elderly human woman entering the chamber. She walked slowly but with dignity, leaning on a simple wooden cane. Her hair was white with age, but her eyes were bright and sharp. "I am Dr. Cho Minwoo," she said, "former director of human scientific research. I am also the person who discovered how to build these gateways." Admiral Thakmore pointed an armored finger at her. "You are responsible for this. You stole an entire species from the galaxy." Dr. Cho looked at him with the patience of a teacher addressing a confused student. "We stole nothing, Admiral. We simply found a better place to live. Would you stay in a house where the neighbors constantly told you what you could and could not do in your own rooms?" She walked to a control panel beside the gateway. With a few touches, she made the view through the ring change. Now they could see vast structures floating in space, cities that looked like flowers made of light and metal, ships that moved like living things among the stars. "This is humanity's new home," she said. "We call it the Garden Dimension. Here, we can build the kind of civilization we always dreamed of. No restrictions on expansion, no limits on growth, no ancient laws that make no sense for our species." Dr. Lee joined her at the control panel. 30 years ago, our scientists discovered that our universe is just one layer of reality. There are infinite other layers, each with its own rules and possibilities. Most are hostile to life as we know it, but some are perfect for beings like us. She changed the view again. Now they could see something that looked like Earth, but better. The continents were larger. The oceans were clearer. 3 moons hung in a sky filled with gentle aurora. "We found 7 dimensions suitable for human life," Dr. Lee continued. "This one became our primary colony, but we have settlements in all 7 now. Billions of humans living in complete freedom." Commander Nam stepped forward. "We tried to find our place in this galaxy. For 300 years we followed your rules and accepted your limitations. But we finally realized that we were trying to fit into a house that was never built for us. Premier Park nodded sadly. The Galactic Council treated us like children who needed constant supervision. Our expansion was too fast. Our trade practices were too aggressive. Our military was too independent. Everything we did naturally was seen as a problem to be solved. So we solved it ourselves, Dr. Cho said. We found a place where our nature is not a problem, where being human is not something to apologize for. Admiral Thakmore was struggling to understand. But your technology, your knowledge, the galaxy needs these things. The galaxy had these things, Premier Park replied. For 300 years, we shared our discoveries freely. We helped solve galactic conflicts. We provided innovations that improved life for billions of beings. And what did we get in return? Constant criticism and increasing restrictions. Dr. Lee touched another control, and the gateway view changed one final time. Now they could see a massive space station orbiting a binary star system. It was beautiful beyond description, with flowing lines that seemed to dance in the starlight. "This is our new capital," she said. "We call it New Harmony. It houses 50 million humans and growing. But more importantly, it houses the first truly free human government in our species' history." Zephylos finally found her voice. "Why did some of you stay behind? Why not take everyone?" Dr. Cho smiled gently. "Because Earth is our mother. She deserves to be cared for, not abandoned. We left enough people to heal her wounds and prepare her for whatever species might need her next. And," Commander Nam added, "someone needed to stay to answer your questions. We knew the galaxy would eventually come looking for us. We wanted to be able to explain our choice." Admiral Thakmore felt a cold fear growing in his chest. "How many humans are there now?" "In your new dimensions?" "About 15 billion, Premier Park answered. "And growing rapidly. When people are free to build the lives they want, they tend to have large families." The council chamber of Harmony's End had never been so quiet. Speaker Vexithera stood at the center, her crystal body dim with shock. Around her, representatives from 47 worlds sat in stunned silence as Admiral Thakmore finished his report. "Dimensional travel," she repeated slowly, as if saying the words might make them less impossible. "You are telling us that humans developed technology to leave our universe entirely?" "That is correct," Thakmore replied. His usual aggressive tone was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like fear. "They have moved 15 billion people to at least 7 different dimensions. And they are still growing." Navigator Zephylos floated beside him, her energy form pulsing with agitation. "The technology they demonstrated is centuries beyond anything we have achieved. Perhaps millennia beyond." A wave of shocked voices rose from the council members. Some spoke in languages that sounded like breaking glass. Others used tones so low they made the station's metal walls vibrate. The translation systems worked frantically to keep up. Trade Minister Quindal from the Commerce Guild was the first to grasp the practical implications. His mechanical voice cut through the noise. "Do they understand what they have done to galactic commerce?" he demanded. "Human trade routes connected 60% of our shipping networks. Human manufacturing supplied essential components for thousands of products." He projected financial data into the air above the chamber. Red numbers showed losses that were already reaching catastrophic levels. The Altarian Empire has lost 40% of its computer processing capacity. Human-designed chips were integrated into everything from ships to household appliances. Senator Voltar from the Democratic Systems Alliance bubbled anxiously in his tank. "Our entire diplomatic communications network relied on human translation software. Without it, we can barely talk to half our member worlds." More reports came flooding in. The Corvin military had discovered that their latest weapon systems would not function without human-designed targeting computers. The Ethereal Collective's research projects had stalled because human mathematicians had been solving their most complex equations. Even worse, the psychological impact was spreading across the galaxy. If humans could simply leave reality itself, what did that say about the power of the Galactic Council? What did it say about the value of galactic civilization? General Hexara from the Military Coordination Council stood up, her dragon-scale armor gleaming. "This is a disaster worse than any war. At least when species fight, they stay in the same universe. How do you negotiate with people who can disappear into dimensions you cannot reach?" Ambassador Felmoth from the Diplomatic Corps raised a wooden hand for attention. "Perhaps we are approaching this wrong." The humans left peacefully. They did not attack us or steal anything. They simply chose to leave. Maybe we should respect that choice. A roar of anger rose from the chamber. Several council members shouted at once, their voices mixing into a cacophony of frustration and fear. Respect their choice? Admiral Thakmore slammed his fist on his speaking platform. They have crippled galactic civilization. Without human innovation, our progress will slow to nothing. They were our problem solvers, added Dr. Yelona from the Medical Research Collective. When we faced new diseases, human scientists found cures. When we discovered new forms of life, human biologists explained them. Now who will answer the questions we cannot solve ourselves? Speaker Vexithara let the arguments continue for several minutes. Then she raised both crystal hands for silence. We must hear from the humans who remained on Earth, she announced. Perhaps they can be convinced to call their people back. A communication screen descended from the chamber's ceiling. It showed the face of Premier Park Jiho, transmitted from Earth across thousands of light years. His expression was calm but sad. "Greetings, Galactic Council," he said. "I understand you have questions about humanity's departure." Vexthara leaned forward. "Premier Park, the galaxy is suffering without human participation. Surely your people can see that they are needed here. Will they not reconsider their decision?" Park shook his head slowly. "I am afraid that is impossible, Speaker Vexithara. The choice to leave was made by our entire species through democratic vote. 93% of humans chose to begin new lives in the Garden Dimensions. What about the 7% who stayed?" asked Ambassador Felmuth. "Do they represent a faction that wants to remain in galactic civilization?" "No," Park replied. "The Guardians stayed by choice, but not because we disagree with the departure. We stayed to care for Earth and to serve as a communication link between dimensions. Eventually, most of us will join our families in the new worlds." Trade Minister Quindal projected his financial data toward the screen. "Do you see these losses? Galactic commerce is collapsing without human participation. Surely that was not your intention." Park studied the numbers for a moment. "We regret any hardship our departure has caused. But these problems existed before we left. The galaxy became too dependent on human innovation instead of developing its own solutions." Dr. Yelona stepped forward. "What about our medical research? Human scientists were working on cures for 17 different galactic diseases. Will you abandon those suffering beings?" For the first time, Park's calm expression showed a flicker of emotion. "We have not abandoned anyone. Dr. Lee Mina is prepared to transfer all our current medical research to galactic databases. We will also provide detailed instructions for continuing the work." He paused, then added, "But understand, we cannot continue to be the galaxy's solution to every problem. You have brilliant scientists among 47 different species. It is time for them to lead instead of following human discoveries." Senator Voltar's tank bubbled with agitation. "You speak as if we forced you to help us. Galactic cooperation was supposed to benefit everyone, including humans." "It was supposed to," Park agreed. "But cooperation became dependence, and dependence became resentment. Too many council members saw humans as useful tools rather than equal partners." Admiral Thakmore could not contain his frustration any longer. "Equal partners? You ignored council regulations. You expanded faster than approved limits. You refused to accept galactic authority." Park's expression hardened slightly. "We followed galactic law in all matters. What we refused to accept was the assumption that being human was somehow wrong, that our natural drive to explore and build and grow was a character flaw that needed to be corrected." He gestured off-screen, toward something the council could not see. "In the Garden Dimensions, our nature is not a problem to be managed. It is a strength to be celebrated. We have built more in 3 months there than we did in decades here." Speaker Vexithara felt the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down on her crystal shoulders. What will it take to bring humanity back to galactic civilization? "What do you want from us?" Park was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was gentle but firm. "Speaker Vexithara, you are asking the wrong question. This is not about what we want from you. This is about what we have already found for ourselves." The screen changed to show images from the human settlements in other dimensions. Vast cities that seemed to grow like living things. Farms that produced impossible abundance. Children playing in gardens under alien stars. "We are not running away from something," Park continued. "We are running towards something better. A place where humans can be fully human without apology or restriction. But you could help us become better too," pleaded Dr. Yelona. "Human influence has already made the galaxy more peaceful and prosperous. And human absence will force the galaxy to find its own path to peace and prosperity, Park replied. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the challenge of succeeding without you. The chamber erupted in arguments again. Some council members demanded that military force be used to bring humans back. Others insisted that diplomatic pressure was the answer. A few suggested that the galaxy should simply accept the loss and move on. Through it all, Park watched patiently from the screen. Finally, he raised his hand for attention. "I have one more thing to show you," he said. The view changed again. Now they could see a massive structure floating in space near Earth. It looked like a space station, but it was clearly built with technology beyond anything the galaxy had seen. "This is the Gateway Station," Park explained. "It serves as the primary dimensional portal between our universe and the Garden dimensions. It is defended by technology you cannot imagine and shielded by dimensional barriers you cannot breach." Admiral Thakmor leaned forward aggressively. "Are you threatening us?" "No," Park said calmly. "I am informing you. The station exists to protect both universes. If anyone attempts to force their way into the Garden dimensions, the gateway will seal permanently. If anyone attacks Earth or the remaining Guardians, the gateway will seal permanently." He paused to let that sink in. "Humanity desires peaceful relations with the galactic community, but we will not be forced to return to a civilization that never truly accepted us. The choice is yours. You can respect our decision and maintain friendly contact through the Guardians, or you can attempt to force us back and lose all contact forever." The council chamber fell silent again. The implications were clear and terrifying. Humanity had not just left the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the Truth Seeker returned from human space. The galaxy was learning to live with the reality that humanity was gone, and they were not coming back. On the station Harmony's end, Speaker Vexathara stood in her private chambers, looking out at the stars through a massive window. Her crystal body was dimmer than usual, reflecting the weight of governing a galaxy in crisis. Behind her, the door chimed softly. "Enter," she said without turning around. Admiral Thakmor stepped inside, his black armor showing signs of wear. He had been working without rest for months, trying to hold together military alliances that were falling apart without human technology. "The Corvin hierarchy has officially withdrawn from the Military Coordination Council," he reported. "They say they cannot maintain their defense capabilities without human-designed systems." Vexathara nodded sadly. "It was the 5th species to leave a major galactic organization this month." "And the replacement systems?" "The Altarian engineers estimate it will take them 15 years to develop alternatives to human technology. The Ethereals think they can do it in 10, but both projects will cost more than the entire galactic defense budget." She finally turned to face him. "What does your military analysis conclude, Admiral?" Thakmor's red eyes dimmed with something that might have been shame. "That we were fools, Speaker. We spent 300 years treating humanity like a problem to be solved. Now we understand they were the solution to problems we didn't even know we had." The door chimed again. This time it was Trade Minister Quindal from the Commerce Guild. His mechanical body moved stiffly, showing damage from overwork. "The economic situation continues to worsen," he reported in his flat electronic voice. "Galactic trade volume has decreased by 60%. 12 species have returned to completely isolated economies. 3 more are considering it." "What about the human colonies they left behind?" Vexathara asked. "Some species have sent settlers to the empty human worlds. The automated systems still work perfectly, so the transition has been smooth, but the planets feel haunted. The settlers keep expecting humans to return." More reports came in over the following days. The diplomatic corps was struggling to mediate conflicts without human negotiators. The Medical Research Collective had made no progress on the diseases human scientists had been studying. Even the Navigation Guild was having problems, since human mathematicians had been working on improved faster-than-light calculations. But the most troubling reports came from individual species. Many were questioning why they had joined galactic civilization in the first place. If the humans could simply leave and build something better on their own, why should anyone else stay? The Democratic Systems Alliance was facing internal rebellions. The Peaceful Traders Union was splitting into competing factions. Even the ancient Ethereal Collective was considering withdrawal from galactic affairs. 3 weeks later, Vexathara found herself in the council chamber again. But this time the mood was different. Instead of anger or shock, there was a growing sense of resignation. "We must face the truth," announced Senator Voltaire from his bubbling tank. "The galaxy has been dependent on human innovation for 3 centuries. Without them, we are reverting to the stagnation that existed before they joined us." Dr. Yelona from the Medical Research Collective agreed. Human scientists had a way of approaching problems that the rest of us lack. They saw possibilities we could not imagine. They asked questions we would never think to ask. "Perhaps," suggested Ambassador Felmuth, "we should focus on learning from their example instead of mourning their absence." But Admiral Thakmore shook his head. "It is too late for that. The damage is done. Half the galaxy blames the Council for driving humanity away. The other half blames humanity for abandoning us. Trust in galactic institutions is at the lowest point in recorded history." Speaker Vexithera made a decision that surprised everyone. "I am calling for a formal vote," she announced. "Should the Galactic Council send an official appeal to humanity, asking them to reconsider their departure?" The debate that followed was fierce but brief. In the end, the vote was closer than anyone expected. 24 species in favor, 23 opposed. The appeal would be sent. 2 days later, the council chamber was filled again as they prepared to transmit their message to Earth. Speaker Vexithara had worked for hours on the words, trying to find the right balance between humility and urgency. The communication screen showed Premier Park Jiho in his simple office on Earth. Behind him, through a window, they could see restored forests where cities had once stood. "Premier Park," Vexithara began, "the Galactic Council formally requests that humanity reconsider its departure from our shared civilization. We acknowledge that mistakes were made in our past interactions. We are prepared to offer significant reforms to address human concerns." Park listened patiently as she outlined the Council's proposals: reduced restrictions on expansion, greater representation in galactic government, increased autonomy for human colonies, even the promise of special status that would exempt humans from certain galactic regulations. When she finished, Park was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled sadly. "Speaker Vexithara, I appreciate the effort that went into this appeal. I can see that the Council is sincere in its desire to change, but you are still thinking about this the wrong way." He gestured toward the window behind him. "You see our departure as a loss that needs to be fixed. We see it as a graduation that should be celebrated." The view on the screen changed to show the gateway station floating near Earth. It was larger than before, with new sections that gleamed like metal flowers in the sunlight. 6 months ago, 15 billion humans lived in the Garden Dimensions, Park continued. Today that number has grown to 35 billion. We have established settlements in 12 different dimensions now. We have made contact with other species who also chose to leave their original universes. The numbers hit the Council like a physical blow. Humanity was not just surviving in their new homes. They were thriving beyond anything they had achieved in galactic space. But more important than the numbers, Park said, is the quality of life our people have found. Children grow up without limits on their dreams. Scientists explore possibilities that physics here says are impossible. Artists create beauty that could not exist in this universe. He turned to look directly at the camera. We have become more than we ever could have been if we had stayed. Trade Minister Quindal leaned forward desperately. But what about the galaxy you left behind? What about the species who depended on human innovation? They will develop their own innovations, Park replied. Necessity is the greatest teacher. The galaxy survived for millions of years before humans joined it. It will survive millions more after we left. Dr. Yelona made one last appeal. At least send us your knowledge. Share the technologies you developed so we can continue your work. Park nodded. We have already done that. Dr. Lee Mina has transmitted detailed information about dimensional science to every major research institution in the galaxy. Whether you use it wisely is up to you. Admiral Thakmore could not hide his frustration. So this is your final answer? You will not return under any circumstances? This is our final answer, Park confirmed. But it is not the end of our relationship with the galaxy. The Guardians will remain on Earth for another 50 years, serving as ambassadors between dimensions. After that, we will maintain minimal contact through automated systems. He paused, then added something that surprised everyone. And if any species in the galaxy develops dimensional technology of their own, they are welcome to visit our new worlds. We would be happy to share what we have learned about building civilizations based on freedom rather than control. The transmission was ending, but Park had one more thing to say, Speaker Vexthara. Please understand, we did not leave because we hated the galaxy. We left because we loved ourselves more. Sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to say goodbye. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Speaker Vexthara realized that humanity's final answer was also their final gift. They had forced the galaxy to confront its own weaknesses and to grow beyond them. Over the following months, the Galactic Council slowly began to change. Without humans to depend on, other species started developing their own solutions to long-standing problems. The Altarians made breakthroughs in computer science. The Ethereals shared ancient knowledge they had kept hidden for millennia. Even the warlike Corvins began contributing to peaceful research projects. The galaxy was learning to stand on its own. A year after humanity's departure, Director General Cho Minwoo sat in her office on Earth, reviewing the final reports from the Guardian Project. Most of the remaining humans would be returning to the Garden Dimensions within the next few months. Her desk held a datapad containing the latest message from the Galactic Council. It was the 47th official appeal for humanity's return. Like all the others, it would be filed in the archives and politely declined. But this message was different. Instead of begging for humanity's return, it simply said, "Thank you for showing us what we were capable of becoming." Cho smiled as she composed her reply. "Thank you for showing us what we were capable of leaving behind." She sealed the message and set it aside.